readers. My name is Dawn Houston. I'm the coordinator for Booktrib's book club program. I'm here today with author Janet Sherlund to talk about her memoir, Abandoned at Birth, a poignant book that examines our inherent need to belong. Abandoned at Birth is one of the selections available in Booktrib's book club program for August. Thank you for taking time out of your schedule today to talk to us.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. We're going to dive right in because we only have 5 minutes, but no spoilers. And I know this is kind of a tricky question because there's so much talked about the book, but what can you share that we wouldn't find on the jacket cover? Some sort of maybe insight into a little extra insider information?
I think one of the feedback I'm getting the most is how emotional the book is and how people are surprised by how deep I went and how much they're feeling in response to the book. Not just adoptees, although I'm hearing from them that, oh my God, this is our truth and thank you for writing it. And non-adoptees who are saying, oh, I never realized. But also people who have suffered loss of, say, a traumatic divorce when they were younger, or a death or a loss, or so many other situations that we all face as human beings. And the depth of the emotion in the writing, and I did write the book to speak to that. I felt that I didn't want to just write the facts of being adopted or the storyline of it.
Yeah.
In order to, I think, really move people, I wanted you to try and feel it, to feel what adoptees feel and how it feels to be untethered and to not be familiar at all with any of your biological family or your kin or your heritage.
Yeah.
Because, there so much of what and despite perhaps the happy storyline of you're adopted into a nice family and they love you very much, that still doesn't seem to be enough for us. It's not enough. That love is not enough. And it's because of these pre-verbal somatic memories that we have of abandonment and rejection and being untethered and not belonging anywhere. So writing to try and really capture and make the reader feel those emotions, I think is the most I could do to try and forward the conversation about what does it mean to belong? How do we form our identity? And what do adoptees lose? What's the trauma and loss behind adoption?
It's fascinating to me when you said the word untethered, because although I'm not adopted, I'm a stepmom. And I love my stepdaughter dearly, as though she were my own. She just had 2 babies, and and her mom is very much a part of her life. And I struggle quite often with that fact that I am not tethered to her in the same way that her mom is. If something were to happen between her father and I don't know what that looks like. So although I don't have the same emotions that you have, I can understand it, which I think speaks to
Yes.
the relatability of the book.
I think that's, yes, absolutely. And I know the filmmaker Rick Burns, when he read the book and just talked about how universal these experiences are for all of us, to some degree or another, through some avenue or another. So I think you're right. I can absolutely see that that relationship being affected in some of the same ways.
This feels almost like a redundant or no-brainer kind of question, but it is sort of the focal point of this, is that why do you think Abandoned at Birth would make such a great book club selection?
I think because of the great discussion topics the book elicits, and it elicits discussion topics on many different many different genres. The discussions that ensue are about uh, political things, adoptee rights, closed records in states, donor conceived individual rights, reproductive rights, but also, legal and moral issues. Why has that decision been made for these people who are making those decisions, and what the consequence of living with them? So there are a lot of, also, what is belonging? What does it mean to belong? How do we form our identity? There's some very deep personal searching for self kinds of questions. So there are all sorts of layered issues and very impactful issues that are brought up by the book. And then it also is written, it's really in mystery story. As you're reading it, a comment I get all the time is, I couldn't put it down. I couldn't put it down. I just had to read it straight through, or as, in 2 sittings. So I
Yeah.
think there's a pleasure and interest and excitement in reading and going on that journey with me of my searching, But ultimately, there are some very deep and very varied kinds of topics that a book club would, I think, find very interesting to discuss amongst themselves from many different points of view.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. For you, was it cathartic? Did it do what it was supposed to do?
Well, so you never get over being
Right.
adopted. It is a grief that you live with, but I am more comfortable living with it, and I have more affirmed to myself that I wasn't crazy growing up, and that these are universal things that we all adoptees experience at some point in their lives. So it was, yes, I urge everyone to write their life story. I think it's very cathartic.
I'm very much looking forward to reading the book. And I actually feel like I could talk to you about it all day, but we're going to veer off that book for my last question because we're still building our summer read lists, although it's midsummer now. Fiction or nonfiction, what's the best book you've read in the last year or few months, and why?
But yeah, I would say The Marriage Portrait by Maggie O'Farrell. I love Maggie O'Farrell's. I can't wait till her next book comes out. I hesitated reading it for, I wasn't really interested in historical fiction. So I kind of begrudgingly picked it up because I had read everything else she'd written. And I just loved it. I mean, her writing, her detail and her description, I just melted into it. I just reread sentences and just, just savored paragraphs. And so I think it's just so beautifully written. And I am so glad I didn't let my dislike of a genre in general keep me from reading that book. So that's my favorite
I
for a long while, I think.
I love that. You are, I think, the third person to make that book recommendation. So
Yeah,
it's obviously a sign that I must add it to my list. Thank you.
you're welcome.
We do have to wrap this up because I think I've already gone over 5 minutes, but that's okay because you're fascinating to talk to. But we do wish you best of luck with this book and thank you so much for taking time with us.
My pleasure.
For more information about Janet's book, please check out the book club page on the booktrib.com website. Thank you.